Good morning, my dear friends. Welcome or welcome back. Definitely waking up. I have a candle review today for you from Bath and Body Works candle. And the candle in question is this lovely Wildberry and Ube. It's a white barn. Sorry, I got a little bit of a scratchy thing right there that the light filters through kind of nicely. It's got this like pearlized metallic raspberry, like a fuchsia color. I like it. And I do love all of the naturals in terms of their aesthetics. This is it's not only a new candle and a new fragrance for them, but it's also a fairly recent drop for them as well. I believe it came with the very last floor set, so maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. And it hasn't been like hyped or advertised a whole lot. In fact, I had to kind of walk around the store and search for the naturals candles. They were kind of tucked away in a corner. There is a cypress and bergamot one. Man, the minute I saw bergamot, it was like, no, why bergamot? No. I mean, tell me it's a men's cologne. And it is. I mean, it's not a bad one. And there is a good amount of like cypress in it, or maybe it's bergamot and spruce, whatever. You know what that is. I did not pick that one up because I just thought it went too boring men's cologne for me personally. However, I was really happy to get Palo Santo and Sage again, because that's a repour of a candle they released last year, which is honestly one of my favorite candles from Bath and Body Works. And then this was the new one, and I was super surprised by it when I smelled it, because with the Wildberry and with the like purple pink thing going on here, I assumed it was going to be like just a really fruity, like just very, I can't explain it. You know what it is if you're a Bath and Body Works. It's a very like body care, very berry kind of smell. And I assumed that's the direction that this was going in. And then when I lifted the lid, I was like, oh wait. So actually, when I first lifted the lid, the minute that I did so, I thought to myself, this is actually a pumpkin spice candle. That was my original thought. And obviously it has more than that. And it does have a berry component to it. But once I lifted the lid and smelled it, I thought, well, this is the reason why it's coming out in November, because it could honestly be seen as kind of a seasonal candle. So let's talk about it. The notes on Wildberry and Ube are fresh wild berries, purple ube, and creamy vanilla. So they're not particularly like unexpected given the name of the candle. You have the wild berries. If you're not familiar with a purple ube, ube looks like it's a yam. It looks like a big like sweet potato, but yams tend to be more less smooth and less round and more like gnarly potato looking, if that makes sense, and tend to be very large. And the purple ube is, I believe it's indigenous to the Philippines, actually. I think it's a Southeast Asian thing. And it looks like a potato on the outside, like it's super brown. But then when you cut into it, it's like really purple, or like purple and white. And then when you cook it, when you cream it, it can go very, very deep purple. And in the Philippines, they use it for a lot of their desserts because it is like a sweet potato in the way that it smells and tastes. And it tends to have a little bit of a nuttiness and a vanilla-ness. It's really just kind of a nice bland sweetness. Leans a tiny bit coconutty maybe. And they do tend to mix it with a lot of like coconut creamy like desserts. So anyway, I came in connection with purple ube once when I was in Los Angeles. I went to a dessert bar and they had this amazing purple ube ice cream that they put in a donut, and it was like absolutely amazing. And if you go back to my haul, I showed you guys a picture of it, but I'm too lazy to like put it up right now. Anyway, purple Wildberry Ube, just think of ube in terms of being like a sweet potato that's purple. That's basically the vibe for it. Although it's gaining in like hipster popularity right now. We don't actually do a ton of ube in this country. And so we don't have that like strong dessert tradition, like in the Philippines where they would mix it with creams and coconut cream and like that kind of thing. Here in the US, we don't really know what it is. And I think the frame of reference for this particular candle is like sweet potato casserole, which you could totally do, I think, because it's a similar texture. So, you know, at Thanksgiving where people bring like that sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows and the pecans, you know, it's what you could do to an ube because it's really very vanilla, like just generic sweetness. So you could like boil it like a sweet potato or bake it and then mash it, or cut it up and then put like marshmallows in it and pumpkin spice. And you could totally do that. It would just be purple. It would be like this extreme color, right? So I think maybe that's the direction they were going in, which is why they brought it out in November. So there is a very strong roasted caramel like fragrance note here, which is why I lifted the lid and I'm like, oh, pumpkin spice. I think there are generic pumpkin spices in this as well. So, I mean, very soft, but you've got like the cinnamon and, you know, nutmeg and those kinds of things, but it's low down, right? And then there's like this roasted squash, roasted potato kind of smell that has been caramelized and a marshmallowness, a strong marshmallow note. And then you have the wild berries, and it's like that Bath & Body Works Wildberry. I think all of those are in this. So if you smell this candle and you're like, and you think about a sweet potato casserole, like a la Thanksgiving, that's what you're gonna smell. If you smell it and you think to yourself, marshmallows and wild berries, that's what you're gonna smell. Because frankly, both of them are in this candle very strongly. And so together, if you can kind of wrap your mind around it, it's really like a sweet potato casserole with berries and marshmallows. The reason that I think that this is like really cool is that we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and I actually think this would be an amazing candle for you to burn for Thanksgiving. The wild berry here is more muted, and it's not like way up in the higher range raspberry and strawberries. It's not that kind of sweet. It really sits down a little bit lower into the like blueberry, cranberry, currant realm, but it's still like Bath & Body Works sweet with marshmallows, if that makes sense. So I actually think that these fruits that they've mixed here are actually pretty good for like harvest, for Thanksgiving. That said, you could totally burn this in January and February and just really lean into like the berry cloud situation, right? But I do think there is something very roasted and very squash-like, which whenever you're burning it is gonna give that like super cold weather coziness kind of vibe. I said in the last one, that I wonder if they were kind of thinking to themselves, when are we going to bring this candle out? Is this like a January candle, for instance, you know, the new Naturals line? Because it's obviously not being packaged in a seasonal way. But then I wonder if they went with it in November, because upon smelling it, it actually does fit really well within like the pumpkin spice genre because of those roasted and carameled notes with the marshmallow. It's very squashy. And like I said, I'll eat my hat. I do think there is a tiny bit of pumpkin spice in this, at least some cinnamon. Yeah. And then with the wild berries. So anyway, it's a super unique candle and I'm really happy with the way that it performed for the most part. So I would say here, as you can see, we've got the soot, we've got the whatever, and I have puny wicks at this point. That said, I'm down to about there. So I did get through at least 2/3 of the candle, if not a little bit more, before it started acting up. And I have to be honest, even when it was burning low, I was still getting a 7 or a 7.5 out of this candle. So it is really bold. It is really intense. I would say that you can get at least a 7.5 consistently out of it, if not an 8, which is, again, would make it a really good company Thanksgiving candle because your guests are gonna smell it. It's inoffensive. Most people are going to love marshmallows and sweet potatoes and currants and cranberries. Like it's just really, really guest friendly and super cozy, performs well. Once you get to the bottom, I mean, it is sooty. It is, but you don't notice it so much until you start getting deep into the candle. It does burn very hot, and it has a good strength and throw. So I think that it's a really strong candle that's not being hyped and probably should be. Check this out. I'm sure it's in your local Bath and Body Works. And if I were you, I'd pick one up for the holiday season. Maybe clear your mind a little bit of some of the more standard holiday candles, either Christmassy or fall-like. It's within that genre, but it's a little bit different. And I think it does travel well into January and February. So I'm a fan. I don't know that I would repurchase another one just because for me personally, it got a little sweet. It went a little bit gourmand, and I don't love super sweet and super gourmand candles. So for me, I would probably not repurchase it again. But that's no knock on the candle itself, and I think a lot of you would love it. So check it out. I really, really highly recommend it, and I like the aesthetic as well. I'll leave details below about where you can get it online, but like I said, it'll probably be in your store. You might need to hunt for it a little bit. I'll catch you in the next one.